Elliott is one of 4 NASCAR Xfinity Series Dash4Cash drivers this weekend at Bristol, competing for a $100,000 bonus in tonight's race. Elliott, talk about competing for the bonus tonight.
Man, that's great. It's anytime you're lucky enough and fortunate enough to be a part of the Dash4Cash. I've been very fortunate the last 4 or 5 years to go for a couple of them and win a couple. I think I won 3 or 4 of them. So always a lot of fun, and I can't think of a better place to race for it here at Bristol, where there's always so much action, and you don't know really who's going to win to the last lap. We even saw that in the truck race the other night. So appreciate Xfinity putting the Dash4Cash on. It's great for our series. It's great for our sports. It's great for our team, sponsors, drivers. It's always a lot of fun when you're racing for that extra $100,000, definitely.
All right, we'll go ahead and open it up to questions. Please state your name and affiliation. We'll start up here with Kenny.
Kenny Bruce with NASCAR.com.
Hey, Bruce.
You think you've won 3 or 4 of them. It's $100,000 each time you win one. Do you not keep up with that kind of stuff?
4 of them, I think. 4 of them, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Hey,
good point.
on the Cup side with the chase and everything, we always hear about teams, having their best pieces ready for the end of the year and stuff like that. On the Xfinity side, do you do anything similar to that? As far as having cars, specific cars ready for the final push.
Yeah, I tell you what we did. We have a system at our race team with Roush Fenway, just like every team has. Where if you run a car and it's a good car, it has to kind of go through a process. Goes back through the shop. If it needs any body work, chassis work done to it, if it needs to get, go to NASCAR and get re-inspected and certified, it'll do that. This is the actual car we ran a couple weeks ago at Indy and ran very well with, and my guys really turned it around real quick to bring it to Bristol because we're running for the extra $100,000. It's a newer car, which we've had some success on here lately. We had an old car scheduled to come to Bristol, and I begged them to please maybe have to work some extra hours and do some extra things to give us a better shot of winning that $100,000. So, yes, I think teams have certain cars and certain things that they try to line up and put in their possession for particular races that you go to.
Additional questions for Elliott? We'll go on the back to Mike, and then over here to
Mike Neff from FrontStretch.com. Elliott, obviously Bristol holds a special place in your heart after winning in the Cup Series here in 2001. Different tracks for different horses, as they like to say. There's a special feel to getting around this place fast. Has that feel stayed with you since 2001, or has it changed with the way the cars have changed over the years?
So what's weird about Bristol is this track has changed so much. It's nowhere near the same track it was in 2001. It's not even the same track it was when I won here last in an Xfinity car in 2012. The old track, you raced around the bottom. You had to worry about forward bite. Your driving style and technique was so much different. Here in 2012, you had the groove. It moved around to the middle, to the top. But then when they reground the surface, and it gave so much more grip up against the wall, now the groove is right up against the wall. So even if it's the same Bristol, it's still the half-mile track. The setups, the driving style, the feel that you have in the car is very, very different. So it would make it special if we were able to win on this newer style track with the ground top on it. So it's definitely a lot different feel than what it was even a couple years ago. Yes, sir.
Reed.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. Elliott, what does it say about the relative strength of the series that you've had 9 different drivers at this point qualify in the 3 Dash4Cash races?
I think it's great. We hear it all the time. We want to know how healthy our sport is moving forward. We're young drivers coming in, talented drivers coming in, and I think it shows that a lot of the Cup affiliated teams across the board have got some good shoes in their cars, and I think that's why so many different guys have qualified for the Dash4Cash for tonight and for the series for the whole season. We're lucky enough to be a part of it. A couple years ago it was the same 3 or 4 drivers in each Dash4Cash. This year it's seemed like it's a little bit more of a widespread group. So that means everybody's more on an equal playing field than what they were 4 or 5 years ago. That's what it shows to me. It's a little bit more depth in the series than what it was, which is good for the sport.
Go ahead, Jonathan.
Jonathan Merriman, NASCAR.com. Growing up fairly close to here, it's got to be a pretty special place for you. How do you balance $100,000 on the line, wanting to get a win here, and then you're 5th in points as well? I mean, obviously if you get a win, you take care of all 3. But when you're behind the wheel, how do you balance where you prioritize everything?
It's easy to prioritize this. You try to win the damn race. and that takes care of everything else. Points to me right now, I could really give a flip about. It's trying to win the race week in and week out, and you, especially when you go to tracks that you feel like you got a good history and a good notebook and a good feeling about. You want to go to those tracks and win. If we win the race, we win $100,000. If we can't win the race and we're not in that situation, then we're seeing who we're racing against. But I think there are 22 cars in it, and I think they've led like the last 9,000 laps in a row here in the Xfinity race. So we gotta have our work cut out for us, and we're here to win the race. Everything else, just let it fall where it may.
Chris.
Chris Knight, CatchFans.com.
Chris.
Hey, Elliott. It's not very often that you get to race with your brother Hermie anymore, but he's racing here tonight for JGL Racing. Is that still a special moment when you guys get to race together on the track?
Yeah, it's cool, man. My brother loves this sport, and I think he does a really good, and I'm biased, but I think he does a really good job covering it for the truck series, and he really puts a lot of heart and effort into it and knows what he's talking about when he's covering all the truck races from the pit. So when he gets a chance and an opportunity to race in these things, it's special to him. He loves it. He's like a kid in a candy store this week. And my parents get to come now because they get to watch us both race at the same time. So I know he's going to do the best job he possibly can for that team. And I think he might have another one on the docket coming up too later on in the year. But I know Bristol's special to him, and I'm proud of him and happy for him, and hopefully he'll have a good night.
And then as far Xfinity is nearing the end of its first season as sponsor, you think they've done a good job?
Let me tell you what they did, and I know I've said this before. The Xfinity TV Go app is the coolest thing I've ever had on my phone or my kids' iPads. It's made all of our trips way more fun. So I think they've done a great job working with the drivers. I know I get phone calls all the time from them asking questions and suggestions and things that they're doing and can they do better. And they really want to reach out to each and every fan that they can, not only here at the racetracks and the stands, but also at home. So, but my biggest feedback to them is this Xfinity TV Go app. Guys, that's not a paid commercial for me. If you got kids, that is the coolest app you can ever have on your phone or your iPad, especially if you travel. So I think they've done great.
Any final questions for Elliott? All right, we'll go to Dustin and then Kelly.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Hey, I know a couple weeks back there were reports about your future. So will you be back at Roush Fenway Racing after this season, and how do you deal with that with your team as you're still trying to win races?
Yeah, how you deal with that? We just got to go out and race, man. I got a lot of good friends on this team, and we got to go out and try to put our best foot forward. I really want to win a race really bad over here. I want to win one for Jack. I really want to win one for Doug and everybody in that team. I saw the reports come out just like you did, and the report was about 50-50, 50% true and 50% not true. And the true part was I had not signed and have not signed with anybody. So that part of the report was definitely true. The rest of it I have no idea about. But I don't have anything to announce here today. We're still working through some things for next year. I've told you guys this before, man. I want to be a part of this sport. I want to be competitive. I still think to this day, the last 5 years, there's no other Xfinity regular that has more poles and more wins than I do, and I want to keep that going. I want to stay competitive and stay up front. One Main Financial is the longest running primary sponsor in the Xfinity series, so they support this series a bunch. They support the NASCAR fans. They support these programs. They want to be in this sport for a long time, and hopefully we'll be able to do that. Yeah, we're still just, man, there's a lot of moving parts right now. I know y'all know there's a lot of stuff going on right now in our sport. Just when you think something's going to happen, something else happens over in the corner. There's a lot of stuff going on, so we'll see.
All right, Elliott, thanks for your time today, and good luck tonight.
Okay, guys. Thank y'all. Have a good night.